I was drinking and using every day, and I wasn't turning up, and I was disappearing for 4 days. I always felt out of place wherever I went. I didn't know what to do in any situation or how to contribute. And I found a way of doing that by being a bit outrageous. When I got the ADHD diagnosis, I had this weird grieving period. If maybe I'd known this at a younger age, I could have not had so much destruction in my wake. Shame fades when you show it to the light. I feel like I'm only just beginning.
Because I'm autistic, I think differently. And back in 2015, I wanted people to drink differently. So I created Seedlip, the world's first distilled non-alcoholic spirits. I took Seedlip from my kitchen to 35 countries and the world's best bars, restaurants and retailers. And we did it in 3.5 years. It was wild. They're delicious. They're intriguing. They're these distilled botanical blends you can just mix with tonic or have in a cocktail. You really don't need another sickly, horrible mocktail. Check us out on seedlipdrinks.com or Amazon and let me know what you think. Our next guest rose to fame as a member of the chart-topping multi-platinum band Busted. Matt Willis has won a Brit Award, been crowned King of the Jungle, and starred in major West End productions from Flashdance to Wicked. But beyond his impressive career, Matt's a powerful voice for mental health, addiction, and more recently, ADHD. He's a really top bloke, and he's put in a lot of work to understand who he is. So I'm excited to share this one with you. Just a heads up, we do touch on addiction and mental health. Let's get into it. Let's hear how great minds think differently. Matt Willis, you were diagnosed ADHD later in life, like me. Why did you go and seek a diagnosis?
I've been to rehab quite a few times, and it'd been mentioned to me like once at rehab. And I kind of like, I don't really remember why. It was very early stages. They asked me about ADHD and I was like, what? And I kind of just thought, you know, it was another word for lazy. I'd listened to Joe Rogan quite a lot, and like early Joe Rogan stuff, he was just quite dismissive of that. So I was like, and I believed everything he said. And then I think what happened was that me and my wife were going through some problems in our marriage, and we were kind of like coming up against it. And it was kind of, we both knew that we needed to do something about it. And so we went to marriage counselling, and we found this incredible woman who was a great marriage counsellor and relationship counsellor. And we started going to her, and we went to her with a few big issues that were happening at the moment. I went there thinking that this is all about her, you know, and kind of like, this is because she doesn't want this and I want this and blah, 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 you know. And she went there with valid, like, reasons of my destruction, you know, that is causing problems, you know. And here's the list. And then the marriage counsellor said, I want you to go and speak to someone because I think you might want to be assessed for ADHD. Okay. And I was just like, whoa, you know, don't make this about me. You know, this is about us. I was quite annoyed at that because I was like, oh no, don't make, you know, I'm already the drug addict. You know, I can't be the drug addict with something else going on.
Yeah, I'm not the only problem.
Yeah, I'm not the only problem, and it can't all be my, you know. So I went to meet the guy, you know, and it was like I had to wait for ages to go. And then we kind of went through this very long, annoying thing of getting a diagnosis, which is like really quite laborious and kind of quite, for someone with ADHD, they like fill out all these forms, you know. I'm like, dude, you know, like now I know like why I had such a repulsion to that kind of like stuff, you know. But really, once I started to do these forms, I was like, oh, I can see a repetitive kind of like
very
thing
likely,
here. Very likely, exactly, all these kind of things. And then I had to get like school reports and things like that. I didn't have any of that stuff, you know. I didn't have anything that I could kind of get tangible in that stuff. So I got my mum to write a letter. Me and my mum are close enough, but not really close. So she wrote this letter, which I just found the most hard to read attack of me as a child. And so I phoned my brother, kind of like all this kind of shit that like I did as a kid and what a nightmare child I was. And kind of like, I thought she was just kind of finding a moment to attack me, you know. So I kind of took it a bit personally. And then I phoned my brother about it and was like, dude, like, listen to this. And he went, yeah, mate, You know, we were really close, and he was like, "Yeah, mate, that's all true. You're an absolute nightmare." And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't realize this." You know, like, so
Did
it really,
you feel like a nightmare as a kid?
well, I felt different. I felt misunderstood. I felt like I couldn't really connect with anybody. I kind of felt very much separate from everyone, you know, and I found ways to fit in. I found ways to kind of like be liked, to be at one with my peers, you know, but they were all kind of just coping mechanisms for being inside a really different.
I did the same, and you kind of, I guess it's not a conscious thing, but you become so hyper aware of, you know, people's body language or etiquette, or how do you say stuff, how do you fit in, what do you wear, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know, so I was kind of like, I just looking, help give me clues.
Yeah.
To sort of go under the radar by just fitting in.
Yeah, absolutely. But also that made me not go under the radar, because sometimes I go so above and beyond thinking that it was the right thing to do that I was actually standing out like a sore thumb, you know, or causing trouble. I was naughty, but I wasn't like bad, you know, and I always had that, you know, from teachers going, if only he'd concentrate, if only he'd apply himself, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's great potential, unfortunately he falls short. All these things, you know, like I kind of constantly got told throughout my life. That was a big light bulb moment for me, that kind of process of finding out about ADHD. And then when I went to get the final diagnosis, he kind of went, it was one of the easiest diagnoses I've ever made. Everything started to make sense. I felt, what's the point? You know, if I've got it, I've got it. You know, like I'm 30, I was 37. I was like, what am I going to do now? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to change anything. I've lived up till now and been all right, you know. And then I realized, have I been all right? You know, there was this really weird thing. And when I got the ADHD diagnosis, I had this weird grieving period for like about a month, you know, where I was quite cross, kind of like, just, if maybe I'd known this, you know, I could have done something else, you know, or whatever it was. And I've had a really good life, you know, like, but I've done made loads of mistakes and up and wrecked people's lives, and, you know, had these kind of like big things that have been my fault, you know. And I was like, if maybe I'd known this at a younger age, I could have not had so much destruction in my wake.
And how do you see that correlation then between ADHD and addiction?
I see it every day, you know, like, especially in certain places that I go and may or may not be a member of. And I just see undiagnosed ADHD in these rooms, you know. I'm like, dude, like, there's something else you might want to look at, because there are coping mechanisms within what I've learned through having an ADHD diagnosis, which helped me with recovery without having a proactive approach to things, right? So I always have just let it happen, you know, or been the last minute kind of guy, you know, like, and like, or things have just built up and built up and built up, and then, oh my God, catastrophe. When really I've known this coming for a long time, I just haven't dealt with it, you know, like, so having things in place that I now try to do with my life. I understand I'm in quite a privileged position to be able to say this, but outsourcing certain parts of my life have been massive to me. And I felt like a failure to have to outsource these things. Like, throughout my life, I was no good at anything admin.
Okay.
Like, anything admin, I've always been terrible at, but I felt like I should be able to do that. So I need to do it, and I don't do it, and I fall behind, or I get in trouble with the tax man, or, you know, all these kind of things in my past, you know. So outsourcing these things, you know, kind of like have been massive for me, and going, right, okay, I'm willing to pay that, because now I don't have to deal with the backlash of what's going to happen if I don't. And the thing is that to me would build up shame and feelings of less than, feelings of you're a loser, you can't do this, you why are you such an idiot, you know. And that's been a big part of my inner story, you know, this kind of like feeling that I'm secretly thick as shit, you know, like hiding it well, you know, but really I'm stupid and I don't deserve anything, because I can't do anything, and I'm not grown up, and I can't, you know, all these kind of things that were in me, like really inside me, that I've had to kind of learn to let go of and go, oh, I'm not those things.
How have you let go of those things?
Well, I think understanding your brain is a big thing, you know. And I think that's the thing about ADHD. It's not an excuse, which is one thing that I had to really work on, because it's not just because I'm ADHD doesn't give me an excuse to be a wreckhead, you know, or a nightmare. You know, like I have to work on that shit. It's the same as everyone has to work on any part of their, you know, just because you have ADHD is not an excuse for your terrible character flaws.
Yeah,
you know?
it doesn't make it
doesn't
okay.
make it okay. You know, like it gives you an understanding of the person, you know, but it doesn't make certain things okay. So you kind of have to, and then I have to work on those things. Like I have to work on what I say and how I say it and when I say it. You know, like I've got this thing that a friend of mine told me, and it's like, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by you? And does this need to be said by you now? Which
I love that.
I'm really trying to work on that, because I say things like, and I'm like, that came from a really good place, but I've just caused absolute catastrophe with what I've just said, you know, and it did need to be said, but maybe not now and not by me. I should have talked to someone else. They could have said that. Do you know what I mean? Like those kind of things, like these little checklists that I've got, which, I mean, and it only comes up with big things now, because I still blurt out stuff which I shouldn't occasionally, you know, and they're not the end of the world things like that I have done in the past. When it comes to those big things, I do have that checklist, and I am able to kind of, you know, to kind of make a bit of a break between my brain and my mouth sometimes.
Can you give me an example of blurting out the worst things?
A lot of the time it came from jokes, you know, like, like from when I was a kid, I would say things I thought were funny, and they were funny, you know, but they were outrageous and also caused harm. You know, you can't say your mum joke to a teacher, you know, like, you know, you can't do that, but because you can do it to your friend, you can't then do it to, you know, I couldn't understand the difference. So I just do these things, you know, which just get me in trouble.
How much have you learned about how you are in a social situation since being diagnosed?
That's something I'm working on. I have massive social anxiety, you know, like I'm really good in this, like now, like a one-to-one chat I'm kind of good at, you know, like give me an arena full of people and I can chat to them, which is bizarre, right? That's slightly different because I kind of put on this Matt from Busted facade, you know, which works, you know, and he's very ADHD and he kind of gets away with it. But give me a dinner party and it's hell on earth. Like I don't know how to act in that thing. And I get really weird with sound, which is something I never really understood. I kind of felt like I couldn't deal with certain situations for some reason. I couldn't understand it. But if I'm talking to you and there's lots of other noise, I cannot, I physically, it's overwhelming for me. And I kind of get a bit panicky and a bit weird. And like, and I know that I'm not giving you the attention that I should be. And I want to, but I can't, you know, so I find any kind of like room really difficult, you know, like, so if I go to like my wife, I have to go to certain events with her.
So right? Yeah, the BAFTAs, how was that?
Yeah, that hell. Absolute hell, you know, like that's my worst case scenario for many reasons. One, I feel like a fish out of water. Two, it's like I don't want to let her down. You know, everything about it's weird, and there's people who do this really well there. I feel like all these insecurities come about with things like that.
And how do you deal with those? I'm
working with a therapist quite a lot on myself, you know, which is like, I feel very American and weird saying these kind of things, but I don't know why I'm ashamed of that. I don't know why that is a part of me that feels like I shouldn't do that. I'm working a lot on my relationship with myself, you know, what I think about myself and where that comes from, you know, and why this will make me feel that way. Like specifically things like the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of work with Emma right now and like TV and stuff. And like we're in these places which I don't feel like I'm supposed to be, you know, so I'm like, why do I feel like that? You know, like I'm there because I'm doing a job that I got booked for and I'm
because they want
because they want me, you know, like, and then I feel like less than and weird and strange, you know, and it all comes from these kind of weird feelings when I was a kid, you know, and like a lot of that is tied to ADHD, I think. This kind of feeling of being, I don't know, the thick, stupid kid who kind of can't sit still and is a nightmare and no one wants him around, or is being put in the fit group, which I used to call it. And really, I didn't do anything in that group either. Like, so it's like you can't take me out of the classroom because I'm disruptive to everyone. You can. It's a good idea probably to take me out of the classroom because I'm distracting everyone else. Put me in a smaller group and then I just do the same in that smaller group, because I don't want to focus on the work. All these kind of things kind of feed into this kind of less than feeling of myself, and that's been detrimental to me. And it's also made me pick up, and I've had a real history of drinking these feelings away or using these feelings away. And everything I was attracted to was stimulants. And it stopped all the kind of noise, in some weird way.
It's an escape. Right?
It's an escape. And especially like for me, cocaine really kind of leveled me out in some way. At the beginning it was like this little pal in my pocket, and would make me be someone in an environment which I think people want to speak to, then it became, I just did too much and was all over the place. But there was a moment where it was kind of like doing something for me that I couldn't do for myself, and it gave me something that I didn't have within myself. Then it obviously went too far and I couldn't stop doing it. And it, they say first it giveth, then it taketh away, which was my story again and again and again. Then I find another one, first it giveth, then it fucking taketh away, so it's kind of a constant thing with that. I was reading about this study in prisons recently, which blew my mind. They went to prisons and they got loads of men in this men's prison, and they found people with undiagnosed ADHD, and they treated half of them. So 50% of them they treated for the ADHD, and 50% they didn't. And in the treated group, there was something like 47 less convictions after they left prison, 47%.
Wow.
So these people were less likely to reoffend, were less likely to do behavior which gets them in prison. It was just massive, like all these kind of things. They were able to form relationships with people, all these kind of things. It says a lot about this kind of thing that, the hidden 20% is going on about, right? Yep. It's like we have this thing that's going on that is not being addressed, and it's causing major problems in the world, and like without looking at it, you're kind of going to keep having these problems go on.
What I love about you and relate to so much is that you are a force, Matt, and sadly that amazing force you use to hurt yourself historically. Yeah. And now I see that same force to better yourself and your family and your marriage and society.
Dude, thanks, man. Like that's that means a lot to me, because I think that's the thing. There's so much that plays on my mind, I'm like, like you keep hearing this thing, if not you, then who? But I'm like, I don't think I should be the one to talk about this. But then when I listen to certain people talk about it, I don't relate to them. I wish I could relate to someone who sounded a bit like me, and kind of felt a bit like me, so I'm like, why shouldn't I be doing this stuff? I'm 41 now, and I've never felt 41. Like I've never felt my age ever. I've always felt like a kid, and I still feel like that. But I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I'm not scared to step into these roles, because without it, I'm just stuck in this place where I feel
So why did you decide to be so open and share so much of your personal life? Why was that a conscious decision? Why did you decide to do that?
I think I made a very conscious decision to do it, because there's a thing about being kind of famous for something that people just feel like they can kind of write anything they want, and you don't have any ownership over that. And then people have an opinion of that. And it's not necessarily the opinion of me that bothered me. It was the opinion of addiction. I've been in 12-step programs like quite a lot, and we carry the message on to the recovering addict. And I have real problems with that. It's all well and good to say, I'm going to carry this message onto this person, then they don't take it. And it's heartbreaking, and I've seen miracles happen in those places, and I've seen death and destruction happen in those places. I am not that person anymore. Like something's happened to me where I thought I would be that person forever. Like I understood that there was these ways out. I never thought I would get them. I always thought I would be the same guy forever, or I might get a little bit of clean time, but really I want to use and take drugs and drink again. And it's going to happen eventually, and I'm going to everything up. That was always my secret thought, but I don't feel that way anymore. And so I'm like, I know I'm in a very different position to a lot of people, and that's the thing. Also, in some ways, in places that I go, I didn't feel like I could tell my true story because I didn't think people would be able to relate to me, because I live a very different life to these people, but I am the same as them, and I wanted a way to show that, because I wanted a way to kind of go, something needs to happen here. Like, we need to start thinking about these problems differently, because the old ways are not working, they're only getting worse. And if I can be a small part in other people deciding that they can speak up and they can change things, then good shit will happen. I think the more, I had this woman on a podcast called Bryony Gordon, and she said that shame fades when you show it to the light. And nothing, all the podcasts I've done and all the kind of work that I've done, nothing has hit me as hard as that sentence.
That's great.
Because it's true, right? It's like, once I take ownership of that and it stops having its power over me, like I don't feel anywhere near as ashamed of myself as I used to. I used to hold all this shit in, and I've kind of let go of that in a way. I've still done some horrible things, and I've done some terrible things to people, and I regret that, but I don't hold so much resentment towards myself for it. And I think that a lot of people can find freedom in that. It's not, once again, it's not an excuse. Everything happens through action, right? So without action, nothing good happens. You have to take ownership, you have to take action, but you don't have to hold yourself completely responsible for every bad thing that you've done.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like the diagnosis, assessments, self-awareness is so key, because it's so empowering when you know.
Absolutely.
You go, from a medical perspective, you go see the doctor, you don't know what's wrong with you, they diagnose you with something or help you understand what you have. Then you can go and do something about it.
Exactly.
If you don't know, you can't.
Completely.
I hear a lot of sort of negative self-talk, Matt. What do you think about yourself now? I'm
learning to think differently about myself. I've never really done any work on myself that didn't involve stopping taking drugs. I've done loads of therapy. I've been in loads of group therapy sessions. I've been to 4 different rehabs. I've kind of like done so many life stories and done the steps of loads of times and, all this kind of stuff. But everything is about stopping me from using drugs. Like everything is about going in and going, I don't want to talk about that. What do I do to not take drugs today, please? And just teach me that. That's all I've been focused on. Yep. And recently I've been really focusing on, why do I feel like this? Like, why do I act like this? Why, when that happens to me, does my behavior represent something else, and what is that, and that's an ongoing discovery. And I've made some massive ones, like one was, which happened recently, which was a feeling of shame that I've had, for all of my life that I'd never realized I had, but it's in everything, this feeling of less than, this feeling of, I am this dirty, pikey kid that I have felt my whole life, and I've carried that on into every job I've had, every interaction I've had, and I'm managing to let go of that, which is huge, which is like, and I know it sounds a bit, I don't know if anyone can understand how massive that is for me, but it was a huge wake up. I was like, oh, I'm not that kid. He's part of me. He's part of me, and I will never, and the thing is that, like, I always thought, oh, I need to get rid of that. I need to get rid of that kid, so I'll drink him away. I'll use him away. I'll put on this tuxedo and not be that guy, whatever that is, but really he's part of me, and I have to bring him along, but he's not me anymore. He's just part of, and it's a weird way of looking at things, but I think it's been transformative to me. Like this guy I'm working with right now has been so different. It's so different to any other therapist I've wanted. I've wanted some kind of like bully, some kind of like, you don't understand. You need to bully me and tell me what to do, because otherwise I'll manipulate you in some way or lie to you. This guy's the opposite of that. He's beautiful and he's like soft and he's like, but he doesn't take any of my because it's all about behavior for me. Like, I don't pick up and use anymore today, but I don't do that today, but I still act like a dick, about certain things,
What are the bits of ADHD that are challenging for you, for your brain?
Organization is the biggest thing in my life. Like, I am so bad at organizing my life. And at the moment, I have 3 different diaries, which is a f***ing nightmare, so I needed to find someone who can help me with that. What I want to do is just float around doing what I want, but unfortunately I can't, so I'm like, how do I do what I want to do, but be a member of society that lives like everyone else, so I'm trying, I find that really difficult. I find doing the things I don't want to do very hard. I do them, but I'm not very good at them, so I'm like, those kind of things I find really difficult. Time is a big thing for me. I'm time blind. I think I can get somewhere in 20 minutes. I can't. I think like I've structured today very within an inch of its life, and I'm a bit worried about it. I'm kind of letting that stuff go because, I can only do so much, and I have to trust that other people that I work with can understand certain aspects of my life.
And how does that organization piece work with family, marriage? You've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids. Logistics is a really, really important part of my relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
As unloving as that sounds.
No, you're on the money there, because that's where we fall down a lot, is that stuff like that, and it's basic. Like, it's not love, there's plenty of love there, but it's like being a grown up is where I struggle. Like on my fridge, I have a day, like a guide to what the kids need every day of the week for school, right? So like, and like on Monday they have to go in this PE kit, and they have to take this, and don't forget the snack and the water bottle. It's a nightmare, but thank God for this thing on my fridge, because otherwise they go to school in the wrong thing every day. If I'm in charge, they kind of know, well, we're going to go with this today, Dad. We don't know what's going to be right. I spent a year putting their school uniform in their bag just in case they're in the wrong uniform, because I was like, if you're in the wrong uniform, just go to the toilet quickly and get changed, because it's so bad.
Take the wardrobe.
Exactly. I'll wait in the car with the uniform and you can pop back out, so it's, or we'll wait in the car, we'll see what other kids are wearing. I've done this a lot, those kind of things I really struggle with. I also I have to fall into place with school, which I struggle with because I don't agree with it.
Authority?
I don't agree with authority. I find that really hard to deal with, and especially because it's not me, Like when I was at school, I understood I had to kind of abide by the rules and stuff, which I fought against, but would get me in trouble. But this is my kids. I don't want them to have to deal with my so I'm like, I'm trying to kind of, and I'm like, I don't care if you've done your homework. I don't care, but school do.
Yeah.
So now I have to tell you to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh,
exams.
I'm like,
our eldest, she's finished her exams. She's 11.
Right.
Albie, and she comes home, got some of the exam results.
Yeah.
She's done really amazingly in some.
Yeah.
She's not done amazingly in others. And I can blurt stuff out at times too. And so the first thing I blurted out was, I don't care, Albs.
Yeah.
I don't care. Exams are a test of how much revision you've done, not whether you understand something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not whether you're a
And you run a
being.
company, right? Mm. Do you check someone's GCSE results when you employ them?
I don't check. I prefer it if they haven't been to university.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I haven't, and that's just a...
That's an insecurity of yours, right?
Yeah, then I'm safe. If we all haven't been to university, then that's good. We're all
absolutely.
kind of even.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I went back to drama school for 2 years, like a few years ago. And I did it because I had this chip on my shoulder that I hadn't done it. Like, because when I left school at 16 to join the band with James, and I had a place in a drama school.
Yes.
And I didn't go there, and I joined the band, and I tried to be an actor in my spare time, right? And I'm like, when I get jobs or I go to the first day of a play rehearsal, I'm like, everyone else has been to RADA or something, and I'm the pop star, they all think less of me, but all this kind of shit. So I was like, I know, I'll go back to drama school because then everyone will respect me. I went back to drama school, had a pretty weird time because I'm 36 or 37 and everyone else is 21. Like some of the weird older guy in the classroom, having to do romantic scenes with a 20-year-old, feeling really awkward and weird about it. All these kind of things happen and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're good enough to get the job, you're good enough to get the job. That's at the end of the day, so that's a big lesson. But I think, when it comes back to school and stuff, I don't know. I think I really feel like they push these kids so hard and it's not good for them. You know, I really feel that. And I've struggled really hard to keep that in, you know, because I'm like, you've been at school, it's now 5:30, you're coming back and you've got an hour and a half of other to do. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And also you're learning shit which you're never going to use ever again in your life. And when in your life do you have to learn everything?
Yeah.
You know,
or be good at everything.
Be good at everything. It's like, oh, you're winning at this, but you're not very good at physics. Let's push your physics up. I'm like, why?
Yes.
You know, why can't you just like push her in these places that she loves, or you know, like, so I find it really hard.
We had our middle daughter River, her school sports day the other day, which I want to be there more than anything, but I want to be the only person there.
You want to be the only person.
I want to be there. I don't want any other parents. I don't want to talk to anyone else. It's tunnel vision. Where's River? And I want her to win. And I'm not a big fan of this taking part idea. And I was standing there, you know, River's running in a race and I'm cheering for her team. She's on the yellow team. They're in a relay. And so I'm calling out the names like, go on India, go on Alex, go on River. And a parent sidles up to me and it's like, I don't know if we're allowed to be calling out names and cheering for teams. I'm like, sorry, what?
What?
Oh, it's about the taking part. It's not about the winning. I was like, no, it really actually is about the winning. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I know she's only 4.
Out what you put in. You know, if you're not good at running, no one's going to care. You know, but if you care, then care. Yeah, I think. You know, like so. I'm with you, dude. Like I'm with you.
And it's important to learn winning and losing.
I had a really can I tell you something awful about myself? Right. So my kids are all quite into the creative stuff, right? Arts and stuff like drama and stuff. They're really into it. Like, and I haven't pushed them into it. I think they just see what me and Emma do and they kind of, you know, they kind of naturally fell into these things. Yep. My youngest one did a thing called the Watford Festival, right? Which is like a poetry and drama festival where they go up on stage. And I was like, this is awesome. She's like 7. She's going to get up on stage and do a piece to an audience. I'm like, this is so scary. And she got up on stage, did this great thing. She was so cool, you know, and she didn't win. You know, she didn't come in the top 3, so she didn't get a medal. But I was like, she did really good, right? I'm a parent, but I was like, she's way better than that kid, you know. But like, you know, whoever cares, you know. Like, apparently it was a poetry reading. She acted it. So like, it was like, I was like, try stopping her, you know. But she did this thing, came outside, and another parent had bought them all medals, right? For all the kids in the school, they had all got a medal. So Trixie came over to me and was like, Daddy, look, I've got a medal. And I was like, I held my tongue in there and I got in the car and was like, Trixie, that's not okay. You know, like the other kids got medals because they did that. I don't think that's right that you should have got. And then I felt terrible because I was taking it away from her. And I didn't take a medal away. I was like, but you know, that's just like someone's mum that gave you that because they feel like their kid wasn't good enough to get a medal. So everyone should.
There's a great book called Not Everyone Gets a Trophy. And it's more about running teams and business.
Yeah.
Because the conditioned belief for children, if they're growing up where everyone gets a prize and no one gets left out and nobody wins or loses, is guess what? They take those beliefs into the workplace.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that is absolutely not preparing children and the next generation for the real world and adult life.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that the one thing that you could not wait to be and wanted to be all your life as a father.
Yeah.
What kind of dad are you?
I love being a dad. Like, I genuinely love it. I want nothing more than to hang out with my kids. The thing is, it changes all the time. Like, it's so weird. Like, my eldest is 15 now, and I have such cool conversations with her, you know, like and she's so, like, so much more kind of, I don't know, it's different because I had such a different childhood to her. And I've been so worried, right? Because I'm like, are my kids going to be spoiled, posh kids? You know, because they, you know, like, and I worried about that. I don't know, like, I had a weird thing. It's like a weird thing in me about working class roots and all this kind of stuff, which is bullshit. You know, it's just about being a good person. And I've let go of a lot of that stuff, you know, but I did have this weird feeling about it. And I speak to my daughter and I'm so proud of the person she is, you know, and we have really cool chats, you know, and like she's really got a head on her shoulders and she's polite, but she tells you what she thinks. You know, I'm like, she's a powerful female and I'm stoked with that. You know, like my son is open and emotional and vulnerable. You know, my little one's a crazy little powerhouse. You know, like I love that I can see we're doing a good job, and that's really, you know, and even when it's not right, I'm okay with it because I'm like, you know, it's the gift of failure, right? Like sometimes that we can shelter our kids from any kind of like failure whatsoever, which I think is really bad. Like I'm encouraging them to fail.
That's the reality, that things don't always go brilliantly.
Yeah.
And bad things happen.
Yeah.
And failure happens, and learning how to deal with that at a young age, I think, is really important. I don't want my kids to go through what I went through, but the failure, an opportunity to learn and build resilience for the big wide world. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really important.
I think when I was younger, I always wanted to be a dad because I wanted to do better than I had. You know, I was so convinced that this was going to be a certain way, and it's not that. It's something else, and it's basically just being human and like being just a cool person, you know, and like that is running into problems. That is kind of like dealing with shit, which I struggle with school with that because I'm like, I don't want you to behave like that. You know, I don't want you to have to worry about that. Yeah. But I understand you do right now. You know, so I keep telling them, I was like, look, this is school. This isn't the world. You know, once you have to do this probably to 18, right? And you just have to deal with it. You know, like it's like a job. You know, you're in a job right now, but the prospect is you're going to get a really good job when you're 18. So you just have to deal with this kind of like mediocre job right now and kind of get through it and do the best you can in that environment, because it will, you know, once you're out in the big wide world, it's a brand new thing.
What learnings and lessons are you passing on to your kids about life, Matt? That's a big question.
I try maybe too many. You know, like I try to pass on too much like wisdom that I wish I'd had. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they're so eye-rolly with me now. You know, like if they hear me say, you'll worry less about what people think of you when you realize how seldom they do. Like my son's always like, what does that mean? I'm like, you'll figure out one day.
I love the
ancient proverb that I'm giving them.
Yes, I do. The what people think about you is none of your business.
Absolutely.
Unless they choose to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah,
so don't waste any time on it.
Completely. You know, like, so all these kind of things I think are important, and I wish I'd known them. You know, whether or not I've taken them on board or not, I don't know. You know, but I think it's about also like everything good that's happened in my life, right? Everything good that's happened is because I've been me. You know, it's not because I've tried to be like this person. That's what I tell them. Like, if you try and be, you know, like if you're a musician, right, you try and be Harry Styles, you'll be the second best Harry Styles in the world. If you work on what you have and what you have to bring, and you have lots to bring, you know, and like so much different than anybody else in that room, you have a complete unique perspective on something. What is that perspective? You know, That's what it is. I'm like, you don't have to have an opinion on shit that doesn't involve you. Like, that's another thing. I'm like, I think in today's world, we're constantly made to be in a camp. You know, you must have an opinion on this, but it must be the right opinion that agrees with everybody. Otherwise, you're going to be cancelled. Yeah. You know, like, or you must have an opinion on this. I don't have an opinion on any of that shit, and I don't want one. Yeah. You know, but like when I do contribute something, I want it to be a real aspect of myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I want that to happen with them. I'm like, whoa. What do you really think about that? You know, like, pause for a second, because when I ask you this question, I want you to think about that. You know, I don't want you to give me some regurgitated answer that your teacher's told you about something. I'm like, what does that mean to you? You know, I think that's a really important thing that I'm trying to teach them. Yeah,
finding their voice, right? Yeah. And what impact do you think fame has had on you as both a parent and a person?
There was a period in my life where it impacted me massively. When I was like 19, 20, and it first happened, it was the most bizarre thing in the world. You know, but the good thing about that was I was only really famous to Busted fans. You know, like it became something different at some point. But for a couple of years, I could spot a Busted fan walking down the road. You know, they've got a a loose tie around their neck and a studded belt, and I crossed the road. You know, any girl that looks a bit like Avril Lavigne, I cross the road. Do you know what I mean? Like these kind of like telltale signs, I would go, okay, don't, like certain rules that I had, don't ever go to a shopping mall on a Saturday, you know, never go to a bowling alley ever, you know, like all these kind of things, you know, and you can kind of live a normal life, right? And, you know, like I could kind of get away with things, you know, like, and then it changed. And then like suddenly everyone knew the band or had an opinion of me because of what the band was. And it wasn't positive. You know, it was a really negative feeling.
What's the worst thing you've read or someone said about you at that time?
At one point, there was always something. There was a thing in the Sun called Beer Mat. In the Bizarre column, there was like a corner of the paper for like a good year. And there was a picture of my face looking pissed on a beer mat. You know, and it would do Beer Mat and Spotted, you know, like it'd be me falling out of some club or me pissed somewhere. I was going to these wanky nightclubs because they gave me free drinks and they let me use drugs in the toilet and they didn't bother me, which worked for my lifestyle at the time, you know.
The conditions were right.
Conditions were right, you know, and I took that little picture in the Sun, you know, and I didn't really care about it. But then like, I think it caused a perception of me, you know, which I then started to live up to a little bit, you know, and I found that really hard to kind of like differentiate because I had this persona that I was always awkward and weird. You know, I always felt out of place wherever I went. I felt like I didn't know what to do in any situation or how to contribute. And I found a way of doing that by being a bit outrageous, you know, like, and people wanted me at places because I'd be the one buying the drinks. I'd be the one who's always carrying. I'd be the one who's going to stage dive off the DJ box. You know, I'd be that guy. And I liked that guy because he kind of felt like an act that I could do, you know. Then I found it hard to ever not be that guy.
Okay.
You know, do you know what I mean? It became me in a way. So this kind of like, I always thought there was Matt from Busted and there was me who was scared and less than and hated himself. And then there was this other guy who I could just step into and he was full of confidence and could do crazy shit, you know. And then I couldn't differentiate the two, you know, and whenever I did, it was because I wasn't using and I just felt this kind of wave of insecurity and sadness, you know. So it's kind of, so I just didn't ever want to be that other guy.
We had Kit Harington on the show and Kit was telling me, you know, that he goes to his local gym and the staff, a couple of the staff there call him John.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they see him as Jon Snow and not as Kit Harington.
Yeah.
And it sounds similar of you getting lost in the world of Matt from Busted and that being then, the persona that people think you are.
I think, but it was easy for me to step into that kind of role full time, you know, whereas it's very hard to slay dragons every day. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it must be more difficult in that situation because you're like, I'm just me. You know, whereas me, I was like, I can be that guy forever, you know, but that guy was really destructive and really not very good for the other guy, you know, or anybody that loved the other guy.
Busted stops, splits. What are you left with? Then what happens?
I kind of saw it coming. You know, I didn't not see it coming. It wasn't like to James. I think James really didn't see it coming. James thought we were going to be together forever and like didn't see Charlie leaving. I could see that coming. You know, I'd had chats with him. Yeah. You know, like I was quite aware of what was going to happen. And I was terrified, but I was kind of told by everyone around me, oh, don't worry, you know, you're going to be a soloist and you're going to do this. I was like, oh, okay, thank God. Oh, I don't actually want to be solo. I don't want all the attention on me. That feels really weird. I don't know if I can be on my own, you know, but all these kind of things, I was like, oh, don't worry about those thoughts, you know, carry on with the projected plan. And then it was actually when that happened, I realized I didn't want any of it, you know, and that was really hard because I was like, what do I actually want? And I didn't know, you know, and I was 21 and I made an album, which was like, some people liked it, but it didn't do very well. You know, and
3 top 10 hits, didn't you?
Yeah, but for someone from Busted, that was a disaster. You know, like it was like from Busted, everything went to number 1, like bang, 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 bang. You know, so like to have my first single went to number 9 and number 11, and all this kind of, it was like, oh, this is failure. And I was like, man, this is like cutthroat. And to be honest, that was all my fault because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was drinking and using every day, and I wasn't turning up, and I was disappearing for 4 days, and I kind of had people in studios waiting for me, and I didn't even know that I was supposed to be there, or all these kind of things, and
Chaos,
absolute chaos, and then it all kind of came to a head, but then it was kind of like, right, I don't know what to do with my life, and I don't even know who the I am,
Who is Matt now?
Matt is me, like I feel very okay with who I am, like I don't really feel like I have to act any certain way with anybody or pretend to be anything in any situation. All I really want to do is be with my wife and kids, if I'm honest. Like work is awesome and I get to do really cool things. What I love about working with Emma a lot right now is it's great because I get to kind of go around with a person I want to spend all my time with. We get to work together, and it's really fun. So I kind of feel like I feel comfortable. I feel like I've got some to do though. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I feel like I feel quite driven, which is weird for me to say because I always have this other voice that kind of goes, don't get ideas above your station. Who the do you think you are? Sit down, little boy. All this kind of stuff. And I have to go, shut up. Like I feel like I have things I want to achieve and things I want to do. And not because I want to be, it's not for glory. It's for something else. I'm not really sure what that is. Like it's not like I just feel like I want to do, and I'm okay with that.
But it seems if I play back to you, I guess me trying to understand, okay, what's Matt got going on now? Okay, he's got his own podcast, busted it back on tour. He's been casted in Harlan Coben's, legend, by the way, Netflix show. You're going to be presenting Love is Blind with Emma. This is reminding me of sitting here with Chelsea Grimes going, you're a producer, a presenter, a writer, all these different things.
Yeah.
And so I can, when you say I've got stuff to do, I've got more stuff to do, you're doing it because it's evident that all these things are happening.
Yeah. And I feel equipped to do it. Like I don't feel like overwhelmed. I feel like I'm only just beginning. Like I've got lofty goals with like On the Mend and stuff. Like I want to really get this spoken about. I want to, and I don't necessarily want it to be me. I don't care if it is me. I like doing what I'm doing, but I want other people to pick up this mantle and champion this shit and kind of go, right, okay, being vulnerable and talking about these things is really important part of it because I feel like the more stuff we kind of hide or shy away from, the less chance other people have to go, oh, I can do something. I'm not what I'm telling myself I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful. And it took someone else to tell me that.
I've always got my kids in mind.
Yeah.
Of they're gonna grow up. They're gonna listen to this show. They're gonna hear the stories, and I think that's that's part of, I guess, without being grandiose on legacy, but I feel a sense of duty to do that.
Yeah, awesome.
For their future.
Yeah, great. Wicked. That's cool because they whether we like it or not, we are the people they look to, and the people that they will, I kind of read something that by the time your kids are 12, their biggest influences are their friend group. I was like, that. I don't want them taking their life advice from them. From
another
12-year-old, when it comes to any aspect of life, I'm like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing just as much as you don't. I don't know everything, but I know a bit more than your 12-year-old mate. They say you're the, I can't remember the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most.
Yep.
Right. I wanted to lift that up. So I started to listen to people and absorb things like, what you're doing now is really important. I started to listen to these people who I never had access to these people in my life. Now I do.
Yeah.
And now we all do. We can go online and find these people who can inspire us and kind of like go, oh, they seem to have something that I want, or something that I need, what is that? I'm going to take a bit of that. I'm going to take a bit of this. I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to open my mind and listen to everything.
Yeah, and we have a choice now, right?
Absolutely.
It's like we've got pick a mix of options and choices, and we can take action. What would you say to people listening, watching, maybe think they might be ADHD, or they've been listening to you thinking, oh my God, that's how my brain works too. What do you say to those people?
I mean, getting a diagnosis was a big thing for me. I think if you can go through that process, it's really hard to, like especially now that I hear about, I was very fortunate to be able to go private and get that done. And I understand that doing that in other ways, but I know people that have done that and they have gone through the NHS, it has worked for them. But I think even if you can't do that, like listening to things and finding out different people that have this or people that work within this space. Like I listened to, I think it was Russell Barkley's book first, and found out about what executive function meant and all these kind of things I'd never heard before. I was like, I need to learn about this, and I'm really bad at learning stuff,
But it sounds like you aren't bad at learning stuff because, and I've heard you talk about this before, of like when you grab onto something, you want to know all about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Which I think is wicked, because like I love being into something. Sometimes it can be very short time that I'm into it. That's the only problem. Like the amount of things that I have in my house that I started and not finished.
What are you into at the moment?
Golf. Like, dude, I'm absolutely obsessed. Like it's a problem.
The list of things that the thing that you do not expect to come out of Matt Willis's mouth.
Yeah, man.
When you ask him what he's into at the moment.
Absolutely. But it's destroying my life. But it's brilliant. I love it. And literally this was the thing that me and my wife don't have any hobbies. I was like, I used to really enjoy working out, like the gym, but I don't see it as a hobby anymore. I see it as like a daily kind of like check-in list of things that I do weekly that I have to kind of do. So I don't really see that as a hobby anymore. I was like, I don't really do anything that's like not to do with my work or my kids. I was like, what do I do for me? And I need something like that, I thought. So I bought me and my wife 10 golf lessons for Christmas.
What? Golf?
Because I was like, the first thing I could think of, I was like, what's near our house? Right, we got a golf course really close to our house. I was like, great, I'm gonna buy us golf lessons. Right, I thought it'd be cute. We can like have a golf lesson. Then once a week we get to spend 4.5 hours walking with each other, no phones. I thought it'd be a really cool thing to do. My wife was not that enthralled by her Christmas present, so, and she's really busy. And she's like, I can't, so it's like, and it had been like a month. And I was like, I'm going to go to one of these golf lessons. Do you mind? Because I've got loads of time in my hands right now and I don't know what to do. And she was like, go ahead. I was like, okay, great. I did one. I've been every week, twice a week sometimes. I go to the driving range almost every day.
Wow.
Whenever I can, in fact, work's really been busy the last few weeks. So it's really annoying me that I haven't been able to play as much golf as I want to. I think about it all the time. I watch it, I'm obsessed with it. Like it's a really, and I'm terrible at it, but I'm okay with that, because I love it.
What does it do for you?
It's a new form of focus that I've never really had. Like there's something about it that it's just, there's no one else. There's nothing. It's just me, this thing, and hitting this ball in a straight line. Stick, ball, straight line. And very rarely does it go in a straight line. And I'm like, oh, that's because I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? And I was really, then it was like, all right, I'm not good enough at golf. Oh no. I'm like,
beat myself up.
And then I went to a really good golf course recently. And like I was, I don't think I deserve to be here. I'm not good enough to play on this golf course. And I was like, I watched like a few people tee off. I was like, everyone's shit at golf. I was like, I'm all right. I'm okay. Most people are shit at golf. It's okay.
I'm allowed to be here.
I'm allowed to be here.
What are the best bits about ADHD in your brain?
The fact that when I get into something, I can really get into it on another level. Like it drives my wife crazy, but she also sees the enjoyment it brings me, so she's okay with it. She likes the fact that I really love certain stuff, like whatever that is at the time. Like it can be problematic because I've had so many periods of my life where I've ruined songs, like I just become obsessed with a band or a song and I listen to it so much that I now hate it. You know, like I do it all the time, you know, and I try not to because I'm like, I really like this. I don't want to ruin it for myself. You know, I watched Offspring at Download this weekend, right? And I forgot how much I love Offspring.
Yeah.
And since Sunday, I've listened to Offspring and nothing else, you know, and like I can't listen to 2 songs already because I've ruined them for
It's
myself.
Thursday today,
It's
by
Thursday.
the way.
Yeah, exactly. So I've like hundreds of times, you know, like, you know, so it's that's problematic. But I love that, you know, and
Do you think you can be positively obsessive?
yeah, I think so. I don't see a problem with that. I think I have an ability to kind of to think differently about something. There's a difference between becoming obsessed by something and becoming dogmatic about something. You know, like I'm very open-minded, you know, because I don't want to ever be ruled by something, you know. So like I will become really into something or really into somebody, you know, like I had a Jordan Peterson phase where I was just like, everything that came out of that man's mouth, I was like, obsessed with, you know, then I can move on to someone else, you know, like, so it's like, I don't like become ruled by the church of Jordan Peterson, you know, like, so I really enjoy becoming obsessed about things, but because of ADHD, it's sometimes short lasting, you know, so then I'm open-minded enough to find something else. And then I'm like, now I've got something else to contribute to my life. So I'm picking up all this from everyone, you know, like we call it jack of all, master of none, you know, that's me, you know.
So how long do you think the golf thing's going to last?
I mean, I hope it's a long time, you know, I really do hope it's a long time. It's been since January, you know, I'm hoping that that's an ongoing thing, but it was really a lot at the beginning. Like I became addict to like about it. I was lying about where I was and I was on the driving range. I was like, I can't do this. You know, I'm like, I'll be back at 5. I could have been back at 3, but I secretly went to the driving range. You know, so I'm like, I don't want to behave like that. So I had to kind of open up and be honest and say I've lied about it, you know, which is another thing.
Getting all the kit, yeah.
Oh my God, there's a new parcel. There's a new parcel every day. Yeah, new parcel every day. I've got seven pairs of golf shoes. Why? I counted them recently. I was like, well, I've got 7 pairs of golf shoes. I've got formal ones, casual ones, trainers, everything. You know.
So good bits about being ADHD, getting into stuff and really loving it and being besotted with things.
Yeah.
Give me 2 more.
Thing is, right, is that however much I said, I have to be careful about what I say. That has also worked in my advantage. Like, for instance, with Busted songs, right? Like our 2 biggest songs of the first album, What I Go to School For and Year 3000, that came because I said the shit you shouldn't say. You know, like that came because I'm willing to say, you know, let's write the song about fancying the school teacher, which is kind of like the thing you shouldn't do. Like you shouldn't say those things, you know, but like I do. And like that works. It kind of works really well with, you know, it's kind of being able to say the thing that I think everyone's scared to say. Or, you know, like that has worked really well creatively because I think I can think outside the box or outside the parameters of normal, you know, normal, whatever that is.
But also you are willing to speak up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't for a while, you know, like, and at times I've had to try and work out whether I should rein myself in. And that's something which I'm learning. And I sometimes get into trouble, but not nearly as much as I used to. But I think, you know, thinking differently about things has worked for me, you know.
And then third best thing about being ADHD?
Well, I suppose it's energy and passion. You know, like as we've already talked a little bit about that, about getting into something, but I can drive something. That I can make shit happen. You know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, but beyond someone else, you know, like, if I want to, you know, like I can make something into existence.
Yeah.
You know, because I want it.
And
you know?
Do you really know that? Do you really believe that?
I do. I do believe that. I believe that I can, like, if I want something enough, very little will stop me from doing that, which I think should be championed, you know, like, because in the past it's not been championed with me. You know, it's like, don't have ideas above your station, stay in your lane, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, forget that now.
Yeah.
You know, like if you believe something and if it means something to you, it might mean something to someone else. And that means it's worthy of pursuing. And I feel that way now because I feel like I have lots of people who I meet who are like me, you know, and like, I think that they would be into this too, you know, like, so I'm willing to go there. You know, I don't listen to
Do you trust people?
I do trust people. I have a small circle, and I've learned to cultivate the people around me very carefully, and when other people come in, it's very hard for me to kind of build up that, because I feel like other people have their own agendas and their own things going on, which is valid. And if I'm working for that person, I follow their agenda, right? So, but if it's me, I'm like, I have a few people who I have sounding boards, and I kind of like, and I can trust fully with what I say, and I know aren't going to judge me if I'm wrong, because I am wrong occasionally, more than occasionally, so,
Sometimes.
so that's okay, but I don't have that many. I don't have lots of people in my life. I have a few, and they're really important.
Yeah, I like that. And I definitely subscribe to that. What does kangaroo anus taste like?
It didn't really taste of anything. It was just really hard to chew. It was like, like skin around your finger. Like it was like a big, massive mound of that. So it's like, it was really hard, and I had to break it off. It's gross.
And when you think about, you won, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. But when you think about being in the jungle, you didn't know you were ADHD.
No.
What do you think? How do you reflect on that time with your ADHD now?
I mean, I found things to do, because it's boring. That's the thing. I think what people don't see about the jungle is it's really boring, because if you don't have a task or you don't get one of the trials, you're in camp all day with people you don't know very well. And luckily I managed to find games and things to entertain everyone, or I just like latched on to David Guest, who was this guy who I thought was hilarious, and I'd make him do outrageous which was really fun, and I would be outraged. Thank God they cut most of the stuff we talked about out, because it's career ending. I had a great time.
We ask guests to bring something that represents their brain. What did you bring?
I bought this, which is a very expensive power pack charger, which I bought because I'm always running out of charge in everything I have, or I forget to charge something, but I forget to charge it. So I got it, carry it around with me. I almost don't even bring it with me anymore, because I know it's never going to have charge in it, and it's completely void of charge. So it's like, it's just empty, useless, but it's like a really good idea, and it's really would help me if only I do what I'm supposed to do with it. But yeah, this kind of represents a lot of my life. Great intentions not followed through.
I love it. The organizational aspect of needing to charge
I
the charger.
researched the out of these chargers. Like I went into detail. I was like, which one do I need? There's a lot on the market, right? So I'm going to find the best possible one. At the time I had an Apple Watch. So this has an Apple Watch charger and everything.
You need to find another
charger to charge the charger. Exactly.
I've so loved talking to you.
Mate, me too, man.
And I've laughed a lot, even at the difficult things that you've said, because I can relate to so much of it. I sort of feel like we're both men that are okay crying and being vulnerable and
absolutely
being open and honest, and I think that's a good thing. So whatever you are doing, Matt, just please keep doing it and go for it, and don't ever let yourself tell you, or try not to let yourself tell you, that you're not worthy of being somewhere or doing something or being something.
Thanks, bro. Same for you, man. I love this chat. It's been great.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot.